Roberts & Roberts Brokerage presents Keenevention 2015's New Movers panel. Roberts & Roberts, when you're serious about precious metals. Online at rrbi.co.
Before that, we've got two really unique panels. One is the New Movers panel, which consists of people who have been here for less than a year. These are all folks who are pretty much brand new here in New Hampshire. What is the experience like to be brand new? Those of us who've been here for a while may remember it, but this will help give us their perspective on how things look just coming into this. And then Dennis Goddard's going to do the old school panel after this. So it'll be a nice little contrast, compare and contrast between the new and the old. And to introduce this panel is Tarrin Lupo, who is one of the co-hosts on Free Talk Live. He does his own channel on YouTube, which he does a lot of features on different sort of things that are happening in the community in New Hampshire. Not the activist community, but outside of the activist community. He's been doing a lot of cool little videos about, little festivals and things that are going on in New Hampshire. So a real kind of taste of New Hampshire stuff. And he's been a long time coming. Finally made it. What's it been, a decade that you've been tooling around out there? So thanks for coming to Keenevention, and have a good panel.
Thanks. Oh, I'm Tarrin Lupo, and as Ian said, I tried to get here for 10 years. I first signed up, I think, in 2003. I remember voting, so I guess that was back then, right? And then I kept getting married, and that didn't work out. So I had basically my wife's wouldn't go, and so I got stuck, and I finally had to get divorced to get here. So anyway, that being said, that does happen where I think it's difficult when one spouse really wants to go and the other doesn't, and you kind of stay where your life is. So I'm that guy speaking to you. I've been here for, I guess, 5-6 months, and life is really good here. I don't regret it at all. There's tons of social activities to do if you want to come. The moving, as some of you experienced and have heard of, they have these moving parties. You have to if you're watching this, and because a lot of people watch this later, you have to let like Chris Lopez or someone know that's on the FSP that you're coming, and they'll set you up a party. They don't just magically happen. You have to announce you're coming. If you do that, you have a good turnout where people will come in and help you move in. And ours, I think they moved everything in our house in like 30 minutes. It was amazing. All these people showed up. I've never seen that happen anywhere else. And that was my move-in experience. As far as a job, I don't really see too many patients here. Mainly I do everything online. So I live out in a little place called Peterborough. It's between Manch and Keene. And it's mainly, I don't know how to describe it, maybe like rich hippies. They decided to set up their own little town. And it's got a very cool music, art vibe. It's more of a little tourist trap, but there's a lot to do out there. And it has that kind of element. As far as activism, if you're interested in activism, it is not the place to live. There's very little activism as far as that on the liberty side. You're much better off, like when I want to do activism, I come in and support the people in Keene or Manch. That's about all I'm going to lead in with about myself. I'm going to pass the mic. Every person here is moved in about a year or less, and they're going to tell you their story. And then we'll open it up to questions. So I'm going to introduce Dax.
Hi, Dax. My wife and I, we moved from Dallas in August. We really made the decision around April. It was just a quick, let's do it. Then we went to Pork Fest, and then went with Mark Warden after Pork Fest to look at some properties and, just put our feet in the ground. It was good timing. Both of us, went to our employers, and, we ended up being able to work from home, which was really good. And I think there's a lot of potential for that. I think there's a lot of people that could just transfer their jobs. There's a lot of companies that are, nationwide. Sorry about that. But I mean, everything's been great. We've really moved for the community, and we've gotten our money's worth for it. There's tons of stuff to do in Manchester, and they got tons of groups that are doing things, and that's really what we were looking for, and we're glad to be here.
Best thing when you moved, worst thing?
We really didn't. It was really smooth. We were really fortunate. I mean, had the U-Haul breakdown once on the way here, but other than that, it was just a smooth ride. And got here, and Bruno was one of the people that helped us move in, and it took took me 2 days to load the truck, and they had it unloaded in an hour and a half. So it's a lot to be said about having those friends there to help and, getting immersed in the community right away. There really is not much negative. We'll see what happens in the winter, but, other than that.
Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your journey.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Kauffman, and I moved here in the beginning of September from Philadelphia. I made that decision. I looked around. I saw Philadelphia wasn't a city that I saw myself living in for the rest of my life. I didn't see it as a place that I wanted to raise a family. And the ideas of, voluntarism were very interesting to me. They didn't seem to resonate with all of the people around me. They didn't seem to be, the norms of the community that I was in. And so, I looked around and said, what is the place that might share those values more? And I found the Free State Project, and it seemed like the best, possible opportunity for this kind of thing to ever happen. So I actually didn't sign until like the day after I moved here. So I hope that's not cheating. And I was moved here for this reason, and I'm really excited to be here. I settled in Manchester. I'm very involved in the startup tech entrepreneurship scene, and if you already live here or you're thinking about moving here and those are things that you're interested in, I'm always keen to talk to people about those kinds of things. I run 2 companies, one called TopScore. It's a software as a service for sports and activities, and then another one, Library, that I talked about yesterday. That's lbry.io. And I'm really excited to be here. Did I miss anything?
No, that's good. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
Keep going. And then I'm going to introduce here Bruno. Go ahead. Take it over.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Bruno. I moved here in February from São Paulo, Brazil. During a couple of years, like many years, I was progressively getting to know the ideas of liberty. So I moved from being a leftist to a classical liberal, and then I was a minarchist while I was working for the government. Yes, I worked for the federal government in Brazil. I was the Fed. I'm not the Fed anymore, but I was the Fed. And after I quit that horrible, horrible job, soon after that, I made the leap into anarchism. And then I first found out about Shire Society, and then that led me to the Free State Project. That was like February 2013, I guess. I wasn't sure how I could do the whole coming here thing, so I didn't sign up right away, but things worked out in a way that here I am since February. I live in Manchester. I am currently not really doing much work-wise. There are 2 people in the community whom I am teaching the Latin language to, but I don't know if that's what I want career-wise. This is a sort of a hazy thing for me. Yeah, seriously, it's one of my personal things, one of my personal issues. Best thing here, the community, like you guys, and I think one of the kinds of, I see it as activism that I can do, that I think I do well, and I had time for it. I have the willingness to it, is like helping folks like these 2 gentlemen move. I think that's activism because I'm creating value. I'm adding to the attractiveness of the Free State Project by doing that. It's small. I'm not like bragging, oh my God, how big of an activist I am, but I think it's an interesting thing to do. And the worst thing, one bad thing that I felt, this might sound ridiculous for me, like coming from Brazil, but I think it was the heat. I was like in 95-degree weather in January before moving here, there in Brazil. And then like 4 or 5 months later, I was in 95-degree weather again here. So that sucks. I want the snow, please. Please, bring it on. I already know I can't, I don't know how it's going to feel. I don't know how it's gonna feel like spend the whole winter here, but I know I can survive. I got here in February. I saw like I was in Boston and the snow mountains were taller than I am, and so did I miss anything?
That's good. We'll get back to you, but I'm going to pass it on to Gloria here. Gloria, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your move.
Hi, I'm Gloria Leustek, and my husband and I moved here just a little over a year ago. So we're kind of on the cusp of not being a new mover anymore, but I'll explain more about that later. We were early signers. We actually bought a house in Winchester 10 years ago. We had all intentions of moving, but I was taking care of my mother. So, you know, that just kept us back in New Jersey. Yes, we escaped from New Jersey. So, yeah, September 1st, a year ago, we moved, and we had 3.5 truckloads of furniture that we moved, and plus the stuff that we had moved over the years. While we had our house, we were renting it out, and so every time we came up, we brought more stuff up with us. So obviously we have way too much stuff. The new mover party was amazing. We had 3 of them, and every time there was just a ton of people showed up and helped us unload, and it was great. And so I'm currently working in sales here in Keene. When I first got up here, I had gotten a job in Hampstead, which if anybody knows where that is, that's on the other side of the state. So I had a 2-hour commute one way. Lucky for me, they laid me off after 6 weeks, so I was able to collect unemployment. And then I looked around and got a job here. So that's what I am currently doing.
All right. We're going to also talk about, oh, thank you, by the way. Let's give some advice because remember, a lot of people are going to be watching this through the years. What advice would you give? And I'll give you an example of what I'd say. I planned, when I decided to move, I really tried to aim it so I moved in May, and the winter had just ended, and I got 6 months of incredible winter. Like, the weather has been awesome here this year. So I tried to avoid the not moving right in the middle of winter. I think that's probably easier, maybe. And also, this is probably obvious to say this, but to just kind of read about the Free State Project and not come up and do the Pork Fest or Liberty Forum or Keenevention, something, you got to come up and drive around and scope out the cities. I'm amazed how many people I talk to that just come up blind. They're like, I don't know, it looked cool on a map, so we're here. And they never did any exploring. It's a tough way, because at first I thought, when we decided to come up here, we thought we wanted to be north of the mountains, because if for you guys that are watching that don't know this, New Hampshire has a big line of mountains, the White Mountains, that kind of divide the state in half. And up north is some of the prettiest views you've ever seen. They're just gorgeous. And so I wanted to live on a postcard. I was like, I want to live up north. It's going to be great. And when we finally drove up there, I didn't like the cities that were up there, except maybe like Littleton's pretty cool. But so we ended up down here in Peterborough. It was really a last-second decision. I thought we were going to live past the mountains, and we didn't. So that's my advice. Plan it good so your date lands that you get a whole summer. And I don't know. Why don't you guys each go through and give us your advice that you wish someone had told you? Would you guys mind sharing a mic? These two? Yeah. Just go down the line.
I would like to echo what you said about coming up here and visiting. We thought we wanted to be in Derry or more rural. But once we were up here, we were in Manchester, and it really seemed like a really good fit. And coming up here to visit, that was the last place I wanted to live. So it's kind of funny that once we came and visited, it seemed like the right place, mainly because there was a large, community there. We would have been in Keene, but we had our son involved with some other things that are closer to Mass, and so location-wise, it is really important to come up here and get a feel for where you might want to move.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely come up here. We settled in Manchester because it's an easy spot to see the rest of the city, and there's a big community of people there. I don't have any like secret life hacks for
There's nothing you would have done differently as far as would you have?
I would
paid-
also. People should reach out. I'd say that's also something that you should definitely do. Like everyone here, there's someone here who would be happy to show you around the town, who would be happy to answer your questions and that kind of thing. So if you're thinking about it, reach out. The FSP will connect you with someone, or you can reach out to me or probably anyone on this panel or whoever. But everyone will be very friendly and help you, so don't hesitate there.
I think that's an excellent point. One of the things I've heard people complain about is they move up here and they're like, well, nobody did all this stuff for me. And it's like, did you tell anyone you were moving? Did you reach out and talk to anyone? You know, it is your job to be proactive to let people know you're coming. So if you're watching this, you know, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to show up and people are going to do all these magical things. No, you have to tell them you're coming and be proactive. Go ahead, Bruno.
Well, I think as a counterpoint, I will tell my perspective as someone who just came here to move because I couldn't. I had planned to come here for PorcFest last year, and it was supposed to be just like visiting and seeing, having a good time at PorcFest, but it didn't work out. Remember, I was still living in Brazil, so there was like other life issues. I had a visa, but I had like other life things. And on the other hand, I sort of knew what to expect from different places because, well, I have worked as a translator in Brazil, so I translated the documentary 101 Reasons. Now I look at the camera, watch the documentary, it's good. And some of the people who are here like are in the movie. And it's fun because I saw the people whom I had like translated your words and like, oh, I know you. You don't know me, but I know you. And so I had this idea of, for example, Manchester is the big city or least small city. Seacoast, I saw it more like family oriented and people more like entrepreneurship. But based on what you said, I think you would like. It would also have been a good option for you. I think you should, if you haven't already, you should get in touch with people there. And then Keene, you have like more in-your-face activism. Let's put it that way. So that was the information I had, and I knew I didn't want to go up north because I thought it would be even colder than here. But I went there. It's beautiful.
It's really pretty up there.
It is pretty.
I'm really considering maybe spending a few
Did you go to
months
Berlin?
Up there. Yeah. Huh?
Did you go to Berlin? Berlin, New Hampshire?
Oh, Bardo. Yeah.
No,
Bardo's
Berlin,
pretty.
the city.
Oh, Berlin. No, I didn't take the tour.
No, it's Berlin. Like here. Sorry, it is. Like
Berlin.
Concord is.
All right,
It's.
I'm not promoting Berlin, but there was a little town, Littleton. Did y'all go to Littleton? Littleton's
no,
beautiful.
Littleton, I am.
All right,
like,
I'm not going to
my wife is from Berlin, so I know. I first time I said Berlin, no.
Because the Brazilian doesn't like it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm Brazilian, but I have to correct you. It's Berlin. It's the same way as it's not.
Not Berlin. It's Berlin in New Hampshire.
Oh, Berlin.
Same, but it's different.
I'm sorry, I didn't say it correctly. It's not Berlin.
Same way as not Concord. Yeah. So and
I mean, we did good. We got about 20 minutes before the heckling started. I didn't think we could get that far.
Yeah, it's because I'm on this side. And the one thing that like sort of explains might explain the impression you had from the North Country is like Berlin and Gorham, all the other cities were like paper cities, but paper mill industries, and there was automation, so there's lots of unemployment. Basically, the city shrunk, and I think there's plenty of cheap real estate there for people.
I was going to say, big opportunity though, man.
Exactly,
if you're on a budget,
and there are porcupines over there. One of the things that we did here, like the Democratic Committee of the town of Hampton on the Seacoast, made an event just to badmouth us. So we went there, so at least we could like be present. And there was a guy who's mover number 6, yes, 6, and he came all the way down from Berlin to Hampton. So,
right on. Is anyone here from the north? Did any of y'all live in there? No hands. All right. For the cameras.
Tarrin, there's like 20 people there.
I know a couple. That's it.
And
all right. Gloria, what would you share as far as advice you'd give to yourself 2 years ago before you moved? If you could talk to yourself, what would you tell yourself?
Well, one of the things that I would have to recommend to everybody is do your homework. When we were looking for our house up here 10 years ago, I had in mind the company that I was working for at that time had a branch down in Agawam, Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm like, oh, well, it's just an hour up the highway, and I'll settle here, and I can just transfer and commute. Well, I'm not working for them anymore. So that didn't work out. But what we found out is the town that we're living in Winchester is a little bit higher of a tax rate than a lot of the towns around here, so we're told. I didn't know that. And if we had known, we may have looked at other towns. Obviously, the more populated the town gets, your tax rate's probably going to be higher. But as, you know, where we came from in New Jersey, right, so we have 2.1 acres, and our taxes are roughly $4,000. Well, that's a bargain compared to New Jersey. Up here, it's not so much. But, you know, these are the things that you need to do. You need to check with, go online, look at different towns, check their regulations. Some towns have absolutely no zoning. Other towns are just like New Jersey with zoning and rules about everything. So, you know, do your homework, get in touch with Mark Warden from Porcupine Realty. He can help you find, you know, different places, tell him what you're looking for, and he'll be able to kind of guide you in the direction of the kind of town you're looking for. Most people are settled in the Manchester, Nashua, Concord area. There's a good handful of us out here, and then over on the seacoast, it's pretty much the bottom of the state where most people are. Not so much as the more north you go, the less populated it becomes. So, of course, the more north you go, there's a lot less jobs as well. So all the jobs are down here on the southern part of the state. So do your homework. Like I said, there's regulations, taxes, and get to know the people. There's a lot of people that you just go on Facebook and you will have instant friends, and just get in touch with them and say, hey, where do you live? What do you think of the town that you're living? And ask them as well, what would you do differently?
Go ahead.
Sorry. I think I would emphasize even more the thing that do your homework part if, like me, you're moving from like a different country, a different continent, because you guys are here, so there are plenty of similarities. Like this, New Hampshire is similar to New Jersey. Sorry to say that, but it's true. It is similar to New Jersey in many aspects, and for me, it's a completely different thing. So if you're, I think the Free State Project will definitely welcome people moving from abroad. Come here. This is where liberty is. So, but you have to do your homework and learn how different it can get from your own country.
Yep. If you're watching this online and this is the first you've heard of, you're like, oh, I'm thinking about checking out the Free State Project. Maybe I'll move here. I would definitely like to throw a pimp over to Mark Warden. Mark Warden is known as a Porcupine Realtor. Mark, is that your site?
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Porcupine Real Estate.
Don't make me sing the jingle for you.
No. Porcupine.
Oh, please.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. I bugged poor Mark for 10 years, and he had endless patience with my questions about, where do I move? There's also a good resource, which I wish I could remember the name, but maybe someone in the audience can help me out. It was called 603 Map. The guy that does NH Liberty Forum, Mark, you had worked with him.
I did a heat map that showed the tax rates around the state, and I think I have a link to that on my site.
All right, Mark thinks it's at his site, but there's a really useful map that I use that shows you the rent of every county, the tax rates, and it breaks it all down for you. So if you're interested in coming here right away and buying a house, that makes a big difference. And Gloria, you're the only house owner here, or have you guys all renting? You bought? Oh, okay. We're going to get to you guys in a sec on that. I'd like to address that for new movers. I'm a renter. Renting is easy in a sense. It's hard to find a place that, surprisingly, the rents are a little more than I thought they were going to be. But I've got a place with all utilities, 2-bedroom apartment for everything's paid for $1,000. So I'm a little out though. I don't know. It actually seems cheaper maybe in Manch. There's more competition. The rentals seem cheaper, but I don't think it included utilities anywhere out there. Here, go ahead. So we're going to talk about that, and then I want to talk about renting versus owning.
When we wanted to rent just for the logistical reason. We didn't know exactly where we were at, but we couldn't find work. Both of us would be working from home, so we needed the space, and otherwise we'd be pulling each other's hair out real quick. So we couldn't. The rental was not really an option for us, and I was the one that did I looked at 1 million houses, and it's funny because every one that Mark took us to look at that we had picked out were terrible. I mean, they were just horrible, and he had picked out a couple, and I mean, it was a huge help. And the house we ended up with was one that I believe Mark showed us, and I never even saw in all the houses that on the internet, Zillow, But Mark was a tremendous help. He was very patient with us through that time, and.
I just want to say I'm really excited to be on the Mark Warden panel.
Mark Warden. That's right.
To be here.
He's stuffing our pockets with gold right now. In case you're watching, we all get paid to say all this. Did you rent or own?
I'm renting. I pay $10.50 for a 2-bedroom in downtown Manchester. But I think that's when we were looking at price. I mean, you can get them cheaper for sure. You can get them more expensive too. There's a good range. I'd say if you're going for like cheapest, probably get a 2-bedroom as low as like $600 or $700, but then you're in like the heroin district.
So that's what I was going to ask, because out where I live, there's the countryside is devoid of that stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty much any small town, you're good to go. But Manch, you guys have a different animal there that you can get in a bad district?
I came from Philadelphia. People are like, there's a bad part of Manchester. I drove through it. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So there's nothing that I saw that I thought was that bad. I mean, yeah, there's areas that are more depressed. They haven't painted their houses frequently, that kind of thing. And I'm sure there's
Was it difficult? Let me ask you this. Did you get here and then rent, or did you have it all set up before you moved?
When I came up well, I tried to have it all set up before I moved. I came up, we looked, we had an apartment, we liked it. We're like, we're going to mail you a check, and because we were on the phone at that point, and then they're like, and then the next day they're like, oh, we gave it to someone else. So we ended up renting one entirely via pictures, but it ended up great. We're really happy with our apartment.
Okay, so you knew what town you were going to be in.
Yeah,
you just didn't get the apartment you wanted.
Exactly.
Bruno, your experience of moving up here and finding a place. International, give us how that works.
Yeah, about the crime thing, like about a month after I had moved, I was at the laundromat, and the guy told me the street the laundromat was in, like one street over from my street, was the most dangerous one in all of Manchester. And I basically laughed at his face, and I said, man, I come from the country with the most murders in the world. As people have said, get in touch with people before you come here, and that was what helped me.
So did you have someone actually scope apartments for you?
No, I didn't, but like I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
All right, I'm moving you along.
I was able to find a place to stay like temporarily between arriving and Liberty Forum, because I arrived like 10 days before Liberty Forum, and during that time I knew I was going to talk to a load of people, and one of those people I moved in with him. Like I shared an apartment with him, and then I got married. So now I'm living with my wife. So I don't have to thank Mark for that. Sorry, Mark.
Aww.
Yeah, you hadn't told me this was Mark Pena, but Mark is a great guy. It's just like it happens. Mark hasn't helped me yet.
He's paying me lots. All right, Gloria, I know you spoke some about your move, but you had a really unusual move. So go ahead, and you owned a house for 10 years before you came up here.
Yeah, well, we, like I said, we were early signers, and we decided to move up here, a long time ago. So we had committed to moving. So what we actually did was we came up. We had the luxury of being down in New Jersey, only 5 hours away. So we came up. We met with a real estate agent, not Mark, sorry. Didn't know him at that time, and I wish we did.
You're not allowed to say that here.
I wish we did know him. And we came up, for a couple of weekends, and the real estate agent showed us around, and then we bought the house. Just a plug for Winchester, house rates are actually pretty low. There's a house for sale on Main Street that's like $79,000. And so there's some pretty good home rates right now in the area, and we're trying to get more people to move into this side of the state in this area, so to get involved as well. I mean, we're pretty heavily located in Manchester, so we need to spread around. So come to Winchester, come to this side of the state. But
would you encourage people, because there's some people that are watching that might want to do what you do, where they buy a house and then say, I'm tied up with a job or a family, I'll move in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Did you like that experience, or was it too hard to manage it being that far away?
It's hard to say. I mean, so what we did is the reason we chose the house that we did is because it has an upstairs apartment that was being rented at the time. So we had great rental income. So then we decided to rent the downstairs and then just be long distance landlords. It worked out for a little while. We had some bad tenants a couple of times. But again, it's all about doing your homework and things that I've learned. If you're going to be a landlord and rent your house before you move up, do background checks and get references and do all that kind of stuff. But overall, I mean, I think it was a good thing because the house was being utilized in the time that we weren't able to move up. So it wasn't just sitting there vacant. And then when we did move up, we were ready. We had a place ready to move into.
Okay, let's quickly go down the panel and talk about, as far as social and activism. So example is, I was a lot more active kind of, I don't know how to explain my activity. I mainly do media. So a lot of stuff I do is on YouTube. I'm still on YouTube at tarrinlupo.com if you want to see any of that. And some people spotlight activism. I spotlight maybe more of living, things that I think are interesting here. I go to little festivals, little towns. I'm hoping to develop in the next year or two a tour of towns where, so there are people like any of us on this panel where you could watch videos and see an introduction and the positives and the negatives of each town. So at least you can plan your trip, I only got 2 days to come to New Hampshire and check it out. I'm hoping to do that, so hopefully you can find that. But as far as activism, I've kind of chilled out in my activism a lot. At this point, I'm trying to be a good neighbor as activism, and that's, trying to make friends with the locals, and I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just spotlighting charities, and it's a good way to make friends, because then they find out you're a free stater and they don't think you're from another planet. Any of you Dax, have you gotten in any sort of activism yet, or social activities that you've enjoyed?
Before we moved, I was more in the political realm, and then I went more anarchist, and I really haven't done anything for a while. But up here, I'll help with Amanda Bolden and other friends that are free staters.
Charity outreach is what you're talking about. For the people who don't know that what Amanda does, she mainly does charity, right?
She's in the House for Ward 5.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I forgot.
But she's also doing the shower sharing. My wife's been helping her a lot with the organizing the Thanksgiving food drive, and it's really trying to get back into the political activism or Politico type support. But it's nice to have somebody I would actually support versus before I'd really just given up on the whole scene. So
yeah, it is kind of nice when you move here. You can find your own vehicle and wake back up with a group of people. Jeremy, what about you?
I suppose under a certain definition, merely by living here, I'm a sort of de facto activist. I wouldn't have considered myself an activist or anything like that before I came here. My work with library is definitely, philosophically aligned with the ideas of liberty, and so I guess that's a form of activism as well. But I plan to, I guess my involvement I see being more involved in can we create, what kinds of things can we build here? Can we get more people here who are interested in, technology and that kind of thing, and less so on the ground, I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. Bruno, what are you involved in these days?
Well, I sort of wanted to try basically everything. So most of the main activism avenues in the state I have at least I have had some contact with. So for example, I'm seeing Dennis here. I think of New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, which is great. They do they review the bills that are on the legislature, give them is this bill is good for liberty, this bill is bad, this representative is good, this representative is bad, or good and bad as much as possible. I have, like I said, I think just being involved in the community and building community ties. I think it's a, in a way, a form of activism, because I'm helping create value for people to move here. You're here, but you're not just like living in New Hampshire. Living in New Hampshire within a community of hundreds, and in the future thousands of people. What else? I have done like a little bit of many things, and I think it's a bit of like a paradox of choice. You have like too many choices. You sort of can choose what you have a hard time finding what's best for you.
Yeah, for people watching this, there's like, oh my gosh, I would describe this place almost like a cruise ship. I don't know if anybody has ever taken a cruise ship where there's like 10 activities all at the same hour, and you got to pick like your favorite and try to make it. It's the same sort of thing as far as activism. There's just awesome political activism here, and then there's also some, what would you say, help me out here. The activism that is not political. Thank you. And then the activism like me, where I just kind of chilled out and try to be a good neighbor. That is activism. It's good activism. And try to be friendly in your community. Gloria, you're going to also talk about your pet project to your pork buddies. I wanted you to mention that with your activism.
I will. So make your own activism. When we got here, we were busy fixing up our house, and for a few months, and then we decided, you know what, we're going to go down to the town and go to our select board meeting. Get involved locally. We walked into the select board meeting, and the only people in the meeting were people who were there who wanted something, or it was just a couple of employees of the town reporting to the select board. Go to the meetings, and they will look at you and, who's that? Are they reporters? Why are they here? What do they want? And you go and you sit there for a couple of meetings, and you just get to know them and say, hey, how are you? And next time they see you, oh, hey, how are you? And suddenly they just think you're just somebody who lives in the town, and that's what we are. We're somebody who lives in the town, who wants to get involved in our town, and just, everybody complains that, oh, my taxes are so high, and the town does this, and the town does that. Well, do you ever go to the meetings? Do you ever vote on the issues? And so that's what we're trying to do. We're going to our town meetings, and we're starting to get involved locally. So the other thing is for the new movers, this is something that was spawned out of Liberty Forum last year. We had a little roundtable discussion with a few people who were thinking about moving, something like this. And so out of that, we have now a program called Pork Buddies Program. And it's spearheaded by myself, and Chris Lopez also helps me out with it. And so if you're a new mover, or you're planning on moving, and you kind of know where you're going to be settling, get in touch with me, and I will hook you up with your own pork buddy. So a pork buddy is basically like a mentor, and what you do is you two of you, get together and go off and do your own thing. You have a question about town politics. You have a question about driver's license and vehicle registration. Where's good restaurants? Tell me about the doctors around here. Where do you go, for this, that, and the other thing? And it's just basically like a pork buddy program. So if you're a year or less, give or take, and you want to have a pork buddy, get in touch with me, and I'll hook you up with somebody in your area. If you've been here longer than a year, like myself, and you want to help new movers, get in touch with me. I will, put you on the list, and then as more people come here, they're going to look for somebody to buddy up with. And there's no set rules. It's, whatever the new mover kind of needs. And you're not, if there's a question that you can't answer for the new mover, well, we have a huge resource of people, myself and all the other people who have been here for a while. So all of us together will help answer all of the questions that the new movers have. And then, you just transition yourself into a buddy as well once you've been here and you're comfortable enough that you want to help other people move in.
All right, and how do they find that one more time if they're listening?
It's Pork Buddies.
Is it on Facebook?
It's we have a Facebook page. It's on the Free State Project page, My email is pork buddies?
Why are you asking me? I don't
It's pork,
know these things.
pork buddies.
One of the two.
Yeah, it's either pork buddy or pork buddies at freestateproject.org. I think it's buddy, singular. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you very much. One last thing I forgot to mention, and I would like to give this advice too, is try to at least create some sort of side job or work from home situation before your move if you can. It's a little harder than you think sometimes to get a job unless you're right in Manchester or Nashua or maybe even Keene. Anything on the outskirts, it's pretty difficult. We didn't get a job right away, and so I'm really glad we can create money other directions. I think the biggest reason I see people come up here, live for a year, and then move away is they run out of capital. They don't plan. They get so excited about, I'm going to move to the Free State Project, and they don't bring any sort of safety net or money with them. So if you're watching this, create a side job at least or something, or figure out how to transition your job online, some way to just to create a safety net, because I think that's a big problem I see up here for people that don't make it is money. Right? Any other?
One thing I think it's important is like the idea of agorism, of like creating an economy not controlled by the state, and that starts with us. So if people have skills or they have like the time to make their job be a work within the community, that's great. That's perfect. So for example, in Manchester, we have like agorist cabs, people who are just like, it's even more outside of the system than Uber. And then you have people who are cooking at like the Quill, the activist center. If like, in as much as people can do that and provide goods and services within the community, that's great. I know it's like, there are economic constraints on that, but if you can do that, I personally think that's great.
The community is growing, but let me tell you, this is a guy that has been trying to sell this to this community for 10 years. I've had different projects where the community will support you a little bit, the Liberty community, but you cannot live on the Liberty community at this point. So if you're watching this and you're like, I'm going to come up and do an agorist business and I'm going to make enough. You barely make enough to pay the bills, but we're just not big enough yet where that's a possibility, but it is getting better. So at least have some sort of backup money, because I've been where you're trying to say is like, hey, I'd love an agorist ideal, but I also don't want to tell listeners, hey, by the way, you can set up and live like that, because it's really tough living.
But
Sure,
the good news is, though, there was something that was just published on, I think it was Mises.org, that the New Hampshire has the best cost of living worldwide, even compared to like Luxembourg or other countries. It's like there was a chart, and there's New Hampshire right at the top of the list, and then everybody else. And so we have the best cost of living. So even though salaries are a little bit lower around here, it's also a lot cheaper to live too.
Yeah, it's a great life here. Actually,
Yeah.
I do not regret moving at all.
Oh,
It's
and
awesome.
it is PORC buddy with a Y.org. I just looked it up.
Yeah, you guys want to add something, Dax?
Yeah, I just wanted to, for me, the hardest part was making the decision to make the move. I've known about it for years, and it was always, I thought it was a great idea, but, once we made the decision to move, everything just kind of started falling into place. Once you make up your mind, you won't regret it. Moving here has been, a blessing, and we've been really happy. So just make up your mind and move,
Okay, I do want to open the floor to questions. We only have about 20 minutes left, so you guys better start that line. There we go. We got somebody. Because I know you're dying to know what we know.
I guess I actually, if I could start out with a couple comments on my experience too. I moved 2007, not a recent mover, but what I did was this little trick where I sent out my resume with the address that I hope to live at to places, and I was lucky enough to line up 3 interviews on the same Friday. So that I just planned to travel out, and then during the weekend, I just found a good apartment situation. And then I happened to get, 2 out of the 3, so I had a good choice. And then there you go. I had a job, money, very important, already set up. I already knew a good apartment, and within the next 2 weeks, bam. So, I mean, if you can get a job even before you show up, that's pretty cool too. I mean, if it's on the resume, I know a little bit of a white lie that I had a New Hampshire address, but they never ask any more questions, right? So there's no more questions. They look at the resume, there's no questions. They don't ask you, like, are you living in New Jersey, New York, or wherever?
Yeah, and get a phone number. If you can get a New Hampshire phone number, employers look at that too. So, yeah, the address and the phone number.
I look at it like, if I'm
Google
going to
phone.
be there, they shouldn't need to know where I live right now. All that matters is I show up for work, you know.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I would have never thought of that.
Actually, Google numbers are incredibly difficult to get for New Hampshire, but Skype, you can get a
I was gonna say, I
New
never
Hampshire
saw
telephone number through Skype. But there was one of you, I forget who it was, said that you were able to actually rent an apartment before you wound up moving. I tried doing that, going through Craigslist before I moved in 2012, and the guy was like, I'm tired of these effing scammers. And it's like, what part of, like, I'll send you PayPal money makes this seem like a scam? So my original plan was come hang out in Keene for a couple of days and go to Manchester. And I've been in Keene for 3.5 years. So, like, things didn't really work the way I wanted it to. So I want to get from each of you, what's something that didn't necessarily work the way you had necessarily planned? And after you answer that, I've got a follow-up.
I guess I'll start. My girlfriend's a hygienist, and we thought it would be a lot simpler for her to get a job. And no, it was pretty tough. So still looking in that sense. We thought, so it's a good thing we had some sort of side business.
You know, I guess I must be a good planner because we had really no hiccups. I haven't had any trouble, so it's been great.
I would say the issue that I had with renting the apartment was probably the biggest hiccup. Yeah. Otherwise, it's
Having the apartment go to someone else.
yeah, and then having to rent via photos.
How would you avoid securing an apartment next time?
I forgot that I hadn't rented an apartment in I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 years, and I forgot that I should just, like, once I found one that I liked, I should just cut them a check right there.
Right.
That's absolutely what you should do. If you're up here and you've got a spot you liked, just put down that deposit right away.
For me, like, I had the thing that was coming from far away, but also I didn't have anything. My move was one suitcase, so I think that made it easy, and I was in touch with people. There's like the Manchester housing group, and people got in touch with me. So maybe Mark has helped me with that as well. But so that's how I got in touch with Neil, which was whom I was sharing the room with, the apartment with.
I don't really have anything to say regarding renting, so.
Right, but no, just in general, what has not really gone the way you thought it was going to?
My job. That was definitely, like I said, I had planned on, transferring from the company that I was working for, and that changed, so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Is I think if you're going to decide where you're going to live based on a job, and then you get here and the job's not there anymore, and you're like, oh. What about, I kind of have a question for Daryl.
Okay.
You're a good example of someone that came up and worked in an Agora business. What's your experience with that? Can people make it yet or not?
It's really tough. Like, I still have something that resembles a day job. I don't get a W-2, but, I'm not completely self-sufficient with the publishing and media that I produce. So, I supplement my income with that, but I still do work for Free Talk Live. So that's my primary.
I was going to say, you're pretty much someone that's in the trenches doing what we're talking about, and it's hard.
It's incredibly difficult, so don't expect that you can just move up here and, I can create my own economy. It's not going to work because it's the whole economy of scale. So if you're only selling to, a couple dozen people in your neighborhood,
right,
you're not going to sustain yourself.
The community is getting bigger, but I don't think it's sustainable yet.
Right. And then there's a lot of people that, they won't do business with somebody from this area because that person associates with this person. Yeah. So, the whole ostracism sort of thing kind of is splintering the community to some degree, while not completely fracturing. The follow-up question that I have is, what is one thing that you would do differently if you could go back and like redo your move?
Wow, stop me. I think probably coordinating better. We were kind of on a leap of faith when we moved, and just had no idea where we were going to live. We actually came up to we stayed at a bed and breakfast for a month to look at the whole state. So we made a deal so we could rent this bed and breakfast for like $700 a month. And then we just looked around, but that was really hard living. It was not that fun, actually. So anyway, go ahead. Dax, what would you do different?
I would have moved sooner.
He wins. He wins.
I was going to say I would have brought more people with me.
Oh, good answers. All right, my answer sucks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't think of anything, at least not something that can go on the record.
Okay. Gloria, anything?
I can't really think of anything
Moving
either.
with bees, right? Would you left your bees behind?
No, I would not have moved my.
You moved
left my
across
bees
country
behind.
with a beehive.
Yeah, we had our beehives 5 hour. Okay, that's the one thing I would have done differently. The little short, cute little story. So we had our beehives in the back of the moving van, and we, moved them up here 5 hours in the road, and it was the summer, and so we put the bees. Truck them across the yard on a hand truck and put them in their spot. And I'm like, I feel sorry for the poor little bees. They've been trapped in their beehive all this time. And so, because we had the entranceways sealed up so they couldn't get out in the van. So we unwrapped the tape and out come the bees. And I got stung here, here, and here. And we hadn't completely moved yet. So at that point, this was Saturday, my face had swollen up so bad I could barely see. That was Sunday, and we were still in transit, and so I was still at my old job, and so we went back down to New Jersey. Monday morning, I go to work, and everybody's like, oh, what happened to you? I was like, oh, yeah, a little bit of detox. So that's what I would have done differently. Don't let your bees out right away. Let them settle down.
We've all been there.
Because, All right, Dr. Tapp, what is your question?
So it's more of a comment, and moving with money or a job is one thing, and if somebody's considering moving, I made contacts in my industry, and as great as our community is, contacts in the industry are very, whatever industry you work in, is very valuable. And so don't get blindsided by a great community up here, because there's also probably great people in your community and in your industry as well. But I was able to find people in the Liberty community that were also in my industry as well. So that was nice.
How hard was it to find those?
I just was on the internet, right? I was planning a visit, and before I visited, I was like, I might have put out 3 or 4 requests in the internet ether before I got a response that led to an email exchange, and we agreed to have lunch or whatever. So, and then I met the liberty-loving, close to my industry type of person, and they made the connections that helped me network when I got here as a resident.
All right, so I'd have to kind of agree with what I've been told, is you really cannot support, the Liberty community is not going to support you 100%. If you come up here with that, thinking about that, you're going to find out a hard reality. And I think that's what happens to some people. They're like, I'll just get a job through the Free State Project.
Yeah, so whatever industry,
you're going to have to go outside of it sometimes.
Yeah, whatever industry you're in, say, I want to establish myself in that industry, and in community, out community, it doesn't really matter. Just do the best job you can. And good.
Thank you, Dr. Tapp. Mr. Matthias.
How's it going, guys? One subject I just want to go back to really quick for phone numbers. Yeah, get a 603 area code, but it's really easy. I work for the telecommunications industry. Just tell your carrier you want a different number. They can change it.
They can change your number. That's easy.
simple. Just do that. And you really should do that before you move. Like, having a local area code goes a long way with locals. But my question is, for me, I try to go to all the new movers parties. I'm always running into new movers, and I kind of have like I try to give them a little advice, like, hey, I know you just got here, but do this, do that. What's advice that you guys would give? Just that one, a lot of times you only have like one a couple minutes that you run into a new mover. You may never see them again because that's the state of the affairs. Sometimes you run into someone and you just never see them again. When you have that opportunity to give them like a little bit of advice from the experiences you guys had moving, what's that one little elevator advice pitch that you would give to them?
Be careful who you hang out with, I think, in a sense that sometimes you really want to be involved with everybody, and then you realize that this community is still kind of small and still kind of a high school clique in a sense that you can really piss each other off easily. So my advice is just kind of spread yourself around and find a group of good friends that you can hang out with that instead of just jumping with the first people you meet. You know, I don't know if that's, I'm going to be the realist here, so don't get involved in the petty politics stuff. Any, Dax?
I think my advice is sort of opposite, but also complementary to yours. Don't disappear. Some people move here and you never hear from them again. Nobody in the community hears from them again.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's not what I meant.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like
just
compliments.
Give yourself enough distance.
Yeah, be in touch with the community, because like the community is a big part of the reason why we're here. Like, we're not here just because, oh, it's New Hampshire. We're here because it's the Free State Project. It's the 20,000 people and everything.
I think we attract a lot of introverts who are just kind of move here and happy to be an introvert in a community of introverts, you know.
Who were there taking care of their bees and stuff.
That's it. Gloria, do you want to say something?
Yeah. Email me, porkbuddy@freestateproject.org.
Yeah, that again.
Not only that, but I'll hook you up with somebody who may not be somebody that you already know, maybe somebody different. And that way it kind of spreads out who you know, get some other input from the community.
Yep. Go ahead, Greg.
I think we have great diversity. You can always find folks you want to hang out with. So I had a question. Do you think moving in your life was a net positive, yes or no? What's the best thing that you found out about New Hampshire, and what's the most surprising thing?
Moving agreed with me immediately. I had a sense of calmness and peace when I finally moved here of like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be. Once I got through all the stress of the actual move, it's been awesome. I love it. The surprising thing is how good the weather is, because everybody's all scared of coming here for the weather. But man, it's been awesome. Of course, I haven't been through a winter yet. But the spring and fall and summer, it's like perfect weather. I did so much hiking. I can't even tell you. Anybody else? Oh yeah, and the hiking's awesome here.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Everyone has embraced me entirely. It's been 100% positive. So I don't think there's anything more to it than that. Like, just do it. Don't hesitate. Yeah.
I try to I still am not like 100% approved to live here permanently. So I try not to assume to keep a level head about that. But if I let myself dream a bit and assume that will work, it's definitely a net positive. This is where I want to be. Even though there are some problems, some issues I have to solve, it's definitely a net positive. What were the other two questions? Something.
Best thing, surprising thing.
Oh, best thing, the community, hands down. I know it's almost a cliche, but it's true. And surprising, the weather.
Yeah,
because it's
really
too hot.
Nice.
It's too hot. It got too hot in the summer.
Yeah, we're both from, I'm from Savannah, where I'm just sick of the heat, and I was ready, and then I get here and it's hot, and I'm just like, man. Gloria?
Yeah, my husband and I mean, we just knew this was kind of our destination. This is where we were going to live. And every day, when I drive to work, and as much as work can be stressful and there's problems in life, I, take a deep breath and go, this is where I'm supposed to be. And this is the best thing. Because this is where I'm supposed to be, and this is where I'm going to live the rest of my life, and get involved. And surprising, the one surprise thing is how quickly you have instant friends. I mean, especially with the internet and Facebook, you have an instant mass of friends and family that you can draw from. It's just surprising how quickly that happened.
All right.
One thing that I think was good for me, one good thing I did about the move was moving during the winter. For me, because I had never lived in a place where it snowed or get like the coldest it gets ever. In the coldest day of winter in São Paulo, it gets like mid-40s, perhaps. So for me, getting here and okay, this is about as bad as it will get. So it won't get too much worse than this. Good, I can live with that. So for me, it was a positive.
All right, Dave Grady, you have a question?
So I've got a tip and a question. A tip along the lines of what Rob was saying about getting a 603 number. You actually don't even have to change your number if you are strategize about it. I was lucky enough to sign up for Google Voice early enough when 603 numbers were still available. However, they're not available now, but what you can do is get a prepaid phone and transfer that number. So for only $10, $20, you can get a 603 number, then transfer it over to Google Voice. Then you can keep your old number and you can get a 603 number before you even move and have it redirect to your existing phone number, which is fantastic. It makes it so you can get jobs before you move up and act like you're in New Hampshire already.
Every successive person has a better idea for how to get a New Hampshire number.
Dave knows his stuff.
So then my question is actually specifically for Tarrin about sort of talking to people in advance and communicating with people. And the question is specifically for you because I know that the Liberty community is fairly strangely Facebook-centric. And you have specifically hopped off of Facebook, so I'd love to hear what your thoughts are specifically about how that's affected your ability to communicate with the rest of the community and what other people's thoughts are in regards to communicating online and the awful elephant bear in the room that is Facebook.
Yeah, that's tough because, all right, for you guys that don't know, I basically just got super angry at Facebook and left. And I haven't been back in over a year, and I'm pretty excited about that. My life's a lot more peaceful without Facebook. But he's got a good question, because it's like every group is on Facebook. How do you deal with that? And fortunately, NH Calendar still has just about everything out there. Chris Lopez, I think she's in charge of that. And just about everything is on there that I need to know. I do miss some new mover stuff, which I kind of feel bad about. Once in a while, like something will happen that didn't make the calendar. I also know someone with Facebook that when I really need someone, usually my girlfriend can contact if I need to find someone. That's the hardest part is, like, I wanted to send Bruno a message, but I didn't know how to do it outside of Facebook. Like, I didn't have his email, I didn't have, his phone number. That part's hard.
I have a telephone.
Huh?
I have a phone.
I didn't know that. So that's it. I hope I answered your question, Dave. It's just more of it's a minor inconvenience, and I know there's a lot of people that are listening that maybe you're in a different country and you don't even know what the hell Facebook is, but there is still a strong community at the calendar, NH Calendar, and thank goodness someone's keeping up with that. Yes, Philip, what can I do for you?
Hello, everyone. First,
bring the mic down to you, buddy.
First, a note about Facebook. Everyone should try instead Diaspora. If you haven't heard of it, it is an open source social network. It's decentralized, nonprofit. It has servers in Germany, Norway, Hungary, everywhere. You just need a username. You don't even need your real name. Email, you sign up. I just created an account earlier today there, and I'm going to start using it. So everyone should at least check it out. It's very small right now, but it's open source, and it's trying to do what Facebook is doing. And second, I had a question I apologize, I forget your name, you in the blue shirt?
Bruno,
okay. You said that you were an interpreter and a translator, and you said you were teaching the Latin language. I'm also an interpreter, translator, and a language teacher. My language is Chinese, but I wanted to know if you have any tips for getting work doing language work here in New Hampshire.
I can help you out.
Oh, all right.
I think Anne is better to answer that question than me. No, I got like the Latin gig. Like there's the group Porcupine Polyglots. I was trying not to get that mixed with porcupines in my head. I'm in both.
Yeah, a little bit of a difference there. A little bit.
Yeah, I'm in both. What can I do? But like it's two people showed up, have interest in learning a dead language.
Have you taken it online to groups like, whatever, where you can, maybe Fiverr or something that's more expensive than Fiverr, but you know what I'm saying?
No,
have you done that sort of work online?
I haven't done my homework in finding work
What about you, Philip?
In general.
Have you found it online? Like, could you bring your own job with translating?
That's a good question. I would think so. The thing is, I haven't started that yet. Where I work now, I'm an independent contractor, but it's through a middleman, an institution. So I kind of have to see about that. But I think it would probably be manageable with Craigslist and stuff like that. Especially since I've actually found that in Chinese in particular, I've found just talking to friends, there's a lot more interest in it than I thought there was.
Probably these days. And what about you? Did you have success online, or do you do it all by local? Here she comes. Yuri's playing on his phone. There he goes. Okay.
Hi. I work for an interpretation and translation company all over New Hampshire and Massachusetts. It is nonprofit. They are looking for independent contractors who speak all languages. So if I meet a free stater who speaks a different language and they say they're interested in that, I always refer them to my program. It's
a company that finds gigs and then gives you guys a cut for doing the work.
No, they don't find gigs. They're contracted with hospitals and lawyers all over the country. So the independent contractor is, contract. So you call them and you offer them the gig, basically.
Got it.
But I'm strictly scheduling them. So, if you're interested, you can come see me after this. I can give you a bit more information.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's an example how it works. There was someone in the audience that had the answer.
Exactly. And after I had answered, I reminded there's some websites I can give you, so we can talk after.
All right, sir.
I just wanted to undercut the $10 to $20 number for the 603 phone number. I get that down to $1.
What? All right, share.
You sign up for Twilio.com, TWILIO.com. You can get a number for $1 a month. 603, you can even get it by city. There's Portsmouth numbers.
Wow.
Availability fluctuates, but there's always 603 numbers. You go to they have a service called Twimlets, where you just paste in a URL that'll redirect that 603 to any number you want. With a little bit of effort, you can get it working for outbound calls, too. They offer you a free script. If you need any help with it, message me on Facebook, Christopher David. But $1, beat that.
All right, so everybody look up Christopher David and ask him to hold your hand through all this and do it for you. Any other questions? Come on now. I know you're dying to know what we know. All right. Then, did you guys have any last comments? We got about 5 minutes. Anybody want to? I'm kind of interested in what kind of hoops you have to jump through to come over international, because there's going to be people watching this from all around the world. How do they start? Keep it under like 3 or 4 minutes.
I got here with a tourist visa because at first I came here only as a visitor. And it just so happened that I found a wife. And that allows me to petition the government, actually allows my wife to petition the government to keep me here. She basically said to the government, please don't deport him. And I learned through my immigration lawyer that New Hampshire is the fastest state for processing the process. We had an interview within less than 3 months of filing, and I am awaiting for the results of that interview. I have a temporary work permit.
What other ways can people come and stay in the Free State Project that are international? Can they get a job here and get permission to live here? Like, what hoops do you have to go through to stay here?
I honestly, I am not sure to what extent getting a job here is a viable option, because I know there is such a thing as a work visa, but there is a yearly quota for that. So from what I understand, but I'm not a lawyer, I'm not entirely sure about this, but from what I understand, it can happen that you're an international worker, I am an American company, I want to hire you, you want to work for me, but it won't work because the quota of work visas has expired for that year. It can happen. If you have, you can get married, you can have a relative in here. It's a
relative can sponsor you.
Yes.
Okay. And then what about for people that just don't care about laws? Can they show up and just live here? I mean, what's the worst thing that happens to you? They just send you back?
No, you can go to jail.
It is a jailable offense.
Yeah, it's an offense.
I thought they just threw you, made you leave.
I think so. I assume so, because
I mean,
I don't know.
There's so many, border hoppers that come over and do it.
Depending on your nationality.
They just send them back, I thought, right? You lived in Texas. Who's a Texas guy? Yeah. How does that work? They just stay, right? Yeah. So I'm not the one that's going to say, don't let laws stop you. Cough.
There's two different things. One thing is when you come in the country illegally, and the other is when you come legally and overstay. So if you're, for example, if you're from the European Union, you don't need a visa. You don't need to get a visa prior to arriving here. Like I am Brazilian, I needed to apply at the Brazilian consulate, at the American consulate in Brazil, and everything.
So there's not such a thing as people that just come over on a vacation and never leave.
Yeah,
does that happen? I mean, I know you would never do that.
There are people that overstay visas.
I would never do that.
They would never do that?
As far as the legal aspect, most people don't realize that either crossing the border illegally or remaining after your visa expires legally is the same thing as jaywalking. It is a violation of federal code, so it's not a misdemeanor, it's not a felony. The difference is the penalty is deportation. So they can throw you in jail if you've been convicted of something in addition to just basically jaywalking.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I've known some people that got deported and then were back in like a month. You know, it's like, oh, all right then.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. First, you have to be more careful than others. Like, let's face it, in this community, you have people like, oh, so and so is in jail. Oh, again, you can't be one of those people, because if you go to jail, your next stop is your home country.
And I always wondered who pays for that.
You can't.
That's what I want to know. Do they pay to ship you back to your country, or do they ship you and give you a bill and you're like, yeah, good luck?
You owe them. They pay because they
have to, right? So maybe that's a good way to go home.
But you owe them back. And if they say you owe them back at least.
All right.
You might be barred from entering the country for like up to 10 years, I guess, or maybe depending for a lifetime, depending on the exact details.
If you're watching this, don't listen to all my advice about immigration fraud.
Yeah. Immigration fraud is complicated.
It was just curious.
There's nuances and details. Like I think there's a good like basis to what Daryl said, but also like take care.
Did you want to say something? I see you grabbing the mic. No, good.
I guess I would say that there's millions of people who believe in these ideas. The only way it happens is if people get together, and you're going to miss out on that because it's cold here. There's no reason that.
Yeah, let me say this the last thing, because this is a new mover panel, and this question comes up every time you talk to someone. How cold is it? What's the weather? I can't move there because there's snow. They invented these things called heaters. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but you got to realize that 95% of your life is indoors. You know, very rarely are you out doing things unless you're like a trucker or something. But most people are inside at work, inside at at living. And if you want to go out, you can wear this thing called a coat. Have you maybe heard of them?
It's such a crazy reason to miss out on something
that's ridiculous.
That's not happening anywhere else. It's like, why did you miss out on that awesome thing? Oh, it's cold outside.
Yeah, I can't move here because it's too cold.
That's what's
you know what? Liberty demands sacrifice. You want to live free, man. So what? Deal with it.
Live free
hey, look, I got
or die.
There you go. That's about it. We've got about a minute left. Any last questions? If not, thank you. I appreciate y'all listening, and I appreciate your interaction. Let's hear it for our panel. Thank you.
Keenevention is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts at rrbi.co when you're serious about precious metals. We don't feed the banks. Bitcoin payment preferred. Online at rrbi.co.
We'd like to invite you to visit freekeen.com. Freekeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeen.com.
I should be in Keene, New Hampshire with the Free Staters.